The end of the semester is coming up fast, and several university groups are hosting events to mark the finish of another school year. Coming up, we'll have a look at several events on the calendar from one of the last busy weekends here on campus.
The weather has been pretty unpredictable during the month of April, but so far severe weather has not been much of a case, but heavy rain, hail, and even tornadoes are a concern that could pop up on the forecast again soon. MCTV's Eric Venkatesan has a special look at why dangerous weather is a regular threat on campus during the spring.
And the end of the semester is just around the corner, but Texas Tech athletics isn't slowing down just yet. MCTV's Medhin Buriani has a look at the top headlines from another busy weekend in sports.
This is the MCTV Weekday Update.
Welcome to the Monday edition of the MCTV Weekday Update. I'm Yemi Akinyeye.
And I'm Cassandra Raucheisen. The end of the spring semester is marked by several annual events, and another school year comes to a close.
And over the weekend, several of those events added to an already packed schedule as Red Raiders count down the days to the start of finals. On Sunday, students who ordered their official Texas Tech rings earlier this semester were invited to the spring edition of the Texas Tech ring ceremony. The ceremony took place at the United Supermarkets Arena 1 p.m. on Sunday afternoon. The ceremony featured students from the university's 10 colleges, university programs, and the graduate school. During the event, members of the TTU Alumni Association spoke to the students about the symbolic importance of the ring and how it connects them to the university. Each student was presented with their ring by President Lawrence Skuvinek. The event concluded as students put on their rings for the first time and joined in a singing of the Matador song. Sunday's ceremony marked the continuation of the tradition, which started back in 1999 and is now held each fall and spring semester.
You may not know it, but Texas Tech has a full power FM radio station that has been run by students for close to 60 years, and near the end of every school year, KTXT, the Raider 88.1, goes back to its roots and away from the computer to celebrate a classic form of music media. Vinylthon 2026 kicked off over the airwaves at 8 a.m. on Friday morning. Student volunteers and staff members brought in their personal collections of vinyl records, spinning tunes from analog players. Of full 24 hours, KTXT joined hundreds of other radio stations across the U.S. and around the world to celebrate the unofficial holiday. Volunteers and staff also headed out to Ralph Records, Goodline Beer Company, and LBK Fest for live remote broadcasting on Friday afternoon and evening. The 24-hour marathon continued until 8 a.m. on Saturday morning with a gathering of students for a special edition of Good Morning Texas Tech to conclude the broadcast. KTXT's celebration of the year's Vinylthon took place a day earlier than the official celebration to accommodate student schedules. Most stations around the country played vinyl all day Saturday into Sunday, which also coincides with Record Store Day celebration this year on Saturday, April 18th.
The end of the school year typically includes many annual events that recognize members of the Texas Tech community, especially those who have found success beyond campus. And in return, those former Red Raiders often take time to give back to current students working towards their degree. Last week, members of the College of Media and Communications National Alumni Board traveled to campus for an annual spring meeting here in Lubbock. But before the meeting even started, 5 graduates of the college took the stage in MCOM Room 281 on Thursday to share their advice with current students. Talia Johnson, A. Brown, Michael Ratcliffe, and Laura Mayer fielded questions from fellow alumni. Sam Saraki, who acted as a moderator for the event, the panel talked about their experiences in the professional world and offered advice to students on everything ranging from getting a first job to living with AI. The event started with pre-written questions, and then students in attendance were asked to provide their own questions for the panel. The event ran from 4 to 5 p.m. and then everyone in attendance was invited upstairs to a reception for alumni and students in the 3rd floor lounge. Media and Communications annual events continued on Friday with the Alumni Board's meeting and the annual scholarship luncheon at the Fraser Alumni Pavilion.
The South Plains area experienced a bit of a chill over the weekend as cooler temperatures returned to the forecast.
Temperatures were a lot cooler than in recent weeks, especially on Sunday morning. So can we expect the cooler conditions to stick around into this week? Weather specialist Audrey Felux has a look at what to expect in MCTV's forecast. Audrey?
Yes, so as we're looking at our live MCTV tower cam, we can see gloomy conditions across campus, and you might have even been feeling some cooler temperatures. As we saw yesterday, Lubbock actually reached into those 30 degrees. 36 was our low yesterday. But even some of the South Plains area reached freezing temperatures, which we haven't seen in a very long time. So With these cooler temperatures, we're seeing some rain across the South Plains, more importantly right now in the southeastern part. However, this could move across the entirety of the South Plains with some scattered showers. This is going to move out Tuesday, but we're more importantly looking at Wednesday. We're going to see some spotted showers throughout the area, which could even include Lubbock, which is much needed because the entirety of the South Plains is under a severe drought conditions, with one area even reaching extreme, which is a concern for farmers as well as wildfires throughout the area. As for our lows tonight, we're going to see 40s and 50s throughout the South Plains, 55 in Jayden, Rawls 52, and 49 in DeMitt. So 40s and 50s, but cloudy as well. As for our highs, we're going to see a bit warmer than what we were seeing today, 70s and 80s throughout the South Plains, 73 in Jayden, Rawls 76, and Plainview 79. So seeing a bit more spring-like conditions for tomorrow. As for tonight in Lubbock, cloudy conditions, 53 degrees and a south-southwest wind at 9 miles per hour. As for tomorrow in Lubbock, we're going to see some sun start to move in through those clouds, 79 degrees and a south wind at 15 miles per hour. As for our forecast the rest of this week, Wednesday, 89 degrees, which is slightly warmer than what we're seeing Tuesday. Thursday, another warm up, 91 degrees as our high, which 90-degree temperatures is a possibility for Thursday, so that is quite a bit warmer. As for this weekend, a slight drop off on Friday to 87 degrees, Saturday 86, not much of a change. However, on Sunday, we're going to see some winds move in, which could be the reason for a drop off on Sunday, 82 degrees, as well as Monday, 82 as well. As for our lows for the rest of this week into this weekend, mid-50s with the exception of Wednesday night, 62 degrees for our low there. So if you've been enjoying these cooler conditions, it won't be staying for very long. So stay updated with MCTV weather and the changes in the forecast. I'm Audrey with MCTV weather. Back to you.
Thanks, Audrey. Other than the cold, the West Texas weather was calm this weekend, but that's not always the case during this time of year. Severe weather can be a concern from now into the summer, and that can be a surprise for students not familiar with the South Plains. MCTV's Eric Venkatesan talked to a couple of local experts to get a better understanding of the potential dangerous conditions that can pop up here in the hub city.
That is the sound thousands of Lubbock residents heard during a tornado warning last June. The sound that meant once again another spring storm is brewing. Chief Meteorologist Jacob Riley explains why West Texas is prone to these storms and what causes them.
So during the spring, we kind of have this general atmospheric setup where we are still seeing some cold fronts come down from the north, helping to keep some of that drier continental air in and around the area. And then we have the warm southerly winds ahead of that cold front that bring in the warm, moist air. What we really see during the spring months, when all of that moisture starts to return to the area, it gives us something known as CAPE, which is convective available potential energy. Basically, it's the amount of moisture you've got to work with, combined with the amount of warmth that you have. That's why we typically peak in the spring season, specifically in our region from mid-April through about mid-June for severe weather.
To Lubbock's emergency coordinator, making good choices is a top priority during severe thunderstorms.
The longer you get away from one of those events, it's like, oh, it's just another thunderstorm, maybe some hail or something. When those warnings go out, do pay close attention to them and try to react appropriately.
Severe spring storms will continue to be a threat, but less of one if you take them seriously, because nature is unforgiving. For MCTV, I'm Eric Venkatesan.
Most of Texas Tech athletics teams competed away from campus over the weekend, but there was one group of Red Raiders who took over the home field to get fans excited for what's to come next fall.
But another Red Raider team kept their focus on the current season and even made some history before heading home. MCTV's Medhin Buriani has details on both of the stories and more in sports. Medhin?
Thank you, Cassandra and Yemi. This is Medhin Buriani with a look at this weekend's sports news. Friday night, Texas Tech football took center stage at Jones AT&T Stadium for the annual spring game. Fans got a first look at the Red Raiders in action with 90 minutes of scrimmage play, split into quarters, and a halftime break full of celebration. A great night in Lubbock. The energy was high right from the start, with players competing hard and looking to make an impression. At halftime, team awards from the 2025 season were presented, recognizing standout performances and leadership. The night wrapped up with plenty of excitement for what's ahead. In other football news, Jacob Rodriguez was named the Jason Witten Collegiate Man of the Year on Thursday, an honor recognizing his leadership and impact on and off the field. Turning to track and field, on Saturday, Texas Tech wrapped up a strong weekend of competing with impressive results. The women's 4x400 relay team made history in Gainesville, breaking the school record with a time of 3 minutes and 28 seconds. The record-setting team included Vanessa Baldy, Mackenzie Kelly, Colonique Farrington, and Lovia Uwesi. What a performance. Both the men's and women's 4x100 relay teams also shined, each finishing second. The men posted a time of 38:39, while the women clocked in at 42:92. Strong showings all around. Next up, Texas Tech track and field heads back to competition on April 24th at the Michael Johnson Invite in Waco. Moving to the Diamond, Texas Tech baseball closed out its series against the University of Utah on Sunday. The Red Raiders fell in the finale 6-3 at America First Ballpark after a tough start. Utah jumped out to a 6-0 lead, but Tech fought back, cutting the deficit to 6-3 by the 5th inning. Great resilience from this group early on. Tech had opportunities at the plate with back-to-back singles from Tracer Lopez and Logan Hughes, putting runners on. But Utah starters Seth Graham Pippen shut the door, striking out the next two batters to keep Tech off the board. The Red Raiders kept competing but couldn't complete the comeback, losing the game and the series. Next up, Texas Tech begins a busy 5-game week, starting with a Tuesday night home matchup against Tarleton State. First pitch is set for 6:30 p.m. at Rip Griffin Park. A big weekend for Texas Tech athletics with action across multiple sports. This is Medhin Buriani. Back to you, Yemi and Cassandra, Reckham Tech.
Thanks, Medhin. The weather has been a bit unpredictable this spring, and thousands of Red Raiders brave the conditions as they travel from class to class across campus.
Many students walk, but many have come to rely on a popular two-wheeled form of transportation to get to class, a little faster. And with that in mind, one campus group is helping to make sure that students get from place to place safely and effectively. Transportation and Parking Services hosted the Spring Bike Clinic on Friday afternoon outside the Sub. The event started at 10:30 a.m. with members of the Rec Center Outdoor Pursuit Center on hand to offer free tune-ups for any student with a bike. Representative from Transportation and Parking Services were also available to answer questions and walk students through Texas Tech's bicycle registration process. Ella Davis, a trip leader and supervisor in the Rec Center's bike shop, says the annual event is a great way to meet fellow bike riders and make sure they are staying safe around campus.
Personally, it's fulfilling for me to see that we're helping people get around campus and on the road. Especially some of these things are really confusing to start learning. So it's great to be able to do that for people, and I hope that people get to find out about all the things that Outdoor Pursuits and Transportation and Parking are doing for them, because it's always great to be in the know about what is going on at campus.
The spring edition of the Bike Clinic wrapped up around 1:30 p.m. on Friday, but the Outdoor Pursuit Center at the Rec is available to help out students throughout the school year. For more information on the Outdoor Pursuit Center and the bike shop, visit recreation.ttu.edu/OPC.
So Cassandra, did you stop by last week's bike clinic?
Unfortunately, I did not, but I'll catch it next time.
You know what? I might do the same too, in case my bike needs fixing. Anyways, that's all for today's edition of the MCTV Weekday Update.
Thanks so much for joining us, and be sure to check ttuhub.net every day for more news. We'll see you on Thursday.